Hello, my name is Bob Ramey, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about some of our options that we have for your students that are going to be taking economics next year. First, understand that economics is a required course for graduation. If you do not pass economics, you will not graduate from high school. So, in order to find the best fit for your students, they may want to look at some of these criteria. I'll add a couple more as we go along, but primarily these are the five options and the main criteria. All right. So we normally have most students taking the traditional 5 days per week course. That course there is, like as I said here, it's traditional. It's you're in class 5 days a week, so you're getting instruction on a daily basis, or your student will be. This option is best for students that need daily assistance and supervision. So if you or your child has a tough time keeping up in other models, they fall behind, then I would definitely take the 5 day per week course. Right? That's the best option for many students. A second option, and I should point this out, that options 1, 2, and 3 are essentially the same curriculum. It's just how it's delivered. All right. So option number 2, hybrid, which is 2 days per week, that section is going to be a little bit different in that the students it'll be more of a college type atmosphere where the kids are meeting twice a week like many classes in college, and they're doing much of the work on their own. Right? This option is good for students that are motivated, so they move quicker. They don't want to get dragged down by being in class 5 days a week. They can use those 3 hours they're not in class much more efficiently. All right. So we meet the 2 days a week. That way I can cover the concepts that are a little bit more difficult in person. The students are getting that a little bit easier to have that direct feedback, the conversations. So the 2 days per week allows for interaction with teacher and other students. And it's also a very, very well respected model. Most of the research out there today supports the hybrid model as being one of the best models to deliver the information to the students. Okay, so that's a good one. It's once again, it's going to be good for students that are motivated, and it's also good for students that are busy. Okay, so if your child is really active, and I'm pushing for this, I don't know if it'll happen, but I'm trying to get my hybrids into 6 hours. Or my onlines into 6 hours. That way, students that are that are involved in athletics or other activities, they don't miss as any classes. So because we're not meeting during that time, or hopefully, so they should miss fewer courses anyways. But if your students are busy, this is a good option. All right, because and especially if they're motivated as well, because now you have a student who can say, look, I'm going to report to class 2 days a week as required, but those other 3 hours, hey, I'm getting my work done. I have a job. Now they can maybe go to work at 2 o'clock or 2:30 instead of 3:30, right? They, if they have a game in Forest Lake, they don't have to miss 6 hours. So there are various reasons why the 2 day per week course is a good one. And for the 2 day per week course, I don't meet on Mondays and Fridays. I tend to meet Tuesday, Thursday, so that when parents if you have a 3 day weekend, then they don't miss the course. All right. So I try to plan for those types of events. So that's what that's good for. The online is, they've had this experience now with COVID. This option here is good for students that do not need much assistance. They read, they can look at the assignments, they get it, and they can just do the work, and they can go at their own pace, and they just like to work independently, and they're good at it. So that's what that course is good for. Now, a couple of warnings on the 2 day per week course and the online course. If your child has a history of not turning work in on time or absenteeism, I would strongly recommend not signing them up for the 2 day per week course or the online section. Many times I've heard the argument made that, well, my student is, maybe if they don't have to meet every day, they'll be responsible, and they'll do good in this setting. It doesn't work. If normally the students who, and as I look at my data, The students who do the best in the hybrid or the online courses are the students that are doing well anyways. When I look at my students that struggle in the hybrid or the online courses, when I go back and look at their educational history, they're the same students that were struggling in the traditional option. Okay, so that rationale, while appealing, doesn't seem to work. So I would not recommend putting your student into these courses if they are not strong students. All right. Numbers 4 and 5, those also meet the standards, the state standards for graduation, but you can also get, as you can see, college credit. Now, these courses are for students that are highly qualified. So, excuse me, these courses, they're not really good for students that want to try an AP course. All right, it's some of the thinking is very counterintuitive, and we really are. I'm trying to make sure the students that are in there belong in there, because it's a 12-week course, and we cover about a chapter every 2.5 days, about 30 to 40 pages per chapter, and it's difficult. So make sure your child is prepared for a course like this. No prerequisites, but what does help is if they do have a strong background in mathematics or science. So if they've been working with charts and graphs for a long time, much of that will transfer nicely to these two courses. All right, just looking at charts, graphs, interpreting them, plotting out curves, and so on. So definitely the math and science background will help. Also, the math science is going to help with the logic behind it, because the logic in these two courses can be rather straining at times. So I do not recommend this for a child who just wants to try an AP just to try it. It's definitely for the students that are prepared. Now, a secondary option on that is, let's just say that your child is borderline. All right. And this might even apply to some other students as well. I have had many students, because this is the pitch I've made to some students. If you really want to come in here and work hard, and you're the best you can get is a B, that's fine. I mean, because that B, it's a weighted course, it'll transfer, I think, as it counts in GPA as like an A minus. All right. But many colleges and universities, they would rather see a student get a B or a B plus in a macro micro than an A in the regular, even though their GPA might be a little bit lower. Okay. The student they're stretching themselves, they're taking chances, good chances. Okay. So let's just say that your child, you think that, hey, they have the discipline, they're a hard worker, but Ramey, I don't know if they're going to get a good score on the AP test. That's okay, because a B in here would be fine. And also there's another little advantage to taking micro and macro as opposed to some of the others, and that is you're exposed to it. Most college majors require either a macro or a micro course, and here's what the research says. They have actually looked at students who took macro and microeconomics and did just average or poorly on the AP test, 3s, 2s, or 1s. And they looked at those students, and they then compared them to their colleagues in college. And here's what they found. Students who took macro and micro and earned a C or a B, but did not do real well on the AP test, actually outperformed their colleagues in college. They actually went into that course and they were comfortable. When the professor was speaking, whatever she said, the student understood it, right? The student was they were a couple steps ahead of their colleagues, because, hey, they've already been through macro, micro before. So there's that advantage. And those students actually did extremely well with their macro, micro courses in college. So it gives a kid a chance to step into macro, micro. And I once again, I say this, if you're thinking this might be an option for your kid, they're not going to get a 5 on the AP test, right? They're going to get a 2, right? But they're going to work hard, and they're going to give it 100%, but they're going to get a B and a 2, okay? Knowing that they're now going to step into college and take the course and do extremely well, hey, why not? Okay, and maybe your child will get a good score on the AP test, right? But if you're thinking that that might be an option, just make sure your child is prepared for it. Um, because if they step in for a couple of weeks and then they decide to drop it, they've wasted some time, and that we don't want them to do that. And I do make this commitment to those students that want to take the course, kind of like a credit, no credit, if you will. Hey, I'm going to take it, Mr. Ramey. I don't think I'm going to get a 4 or 5 on the test. Hey, I'm just aiming for a B, and I liked what you said. Now I can step into the college course, and then I'll feel comfortable in there, and I'll be the one raising my hands. I'll be the smart kid. I like that idea, Mr. Ramey. Hey, if that's your child, I will do everything I can to make sure they get that D. Okay, because I respect that child. They're stretching themselves, and it's why not? And plus, they're better courses. They're more exciting. Now between these two, I would go with personally. I like macro better. Okay. Now, if your child is going to be a business major, they're going to have to take both anyways. All right. But if they're only going to take one or the other, I would go with macro because I think it just explains the world quite a bit better than micro does. I've always felt that a student that takes macroeconomics understands the world so much better. They understand politics better. They understand when they listen to presidential candidates speak during the campaign season, when they hear what they're saying, they can interpret it better. They can analyze it better, and they can identify, hey, if this person's proposal legitimate, or is this person just trying to buy votes? Okay, so it really, really does give them an eye-opening experience. So that would be macroeconomics. Anyways, so those are your choices. At any time, you can contact me. Just shoot me an email. Just go onto the web page, and you can find me under the Social Studies department. Otherwise, it's rramey@sowashco.org, rramey@sowashco.org, and I'll answer any questions that you have. So have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see your students here next year in class. Okay, thank you so much for your time.